And we are live. Welcome to Travel Insights, powered by the leading travel and tourism daily news portal, TravelDailyNews.com International Edition. We are streaming live on our website, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in and listening wherever you are watching us from. I'm Chryssa Skodra, and in this interview series, I have the chance to interview thought leaders, professionals, academics, and practitioners in the tourism, travel, and aviation industry, as well as hospitality. They're all willing to share their unique insights and expertise with me and with you watching. Today, I have the great pleasure to welcome Dr. Lutz Weisser in the studio. Welcome, Lutz.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Dr. Weisser, you are the managing director of Munich Airport International. You have more than 30 years of experience in the aviation industry. You are an engineer and architect yourself. You have founded your own company, and now you work as the managing director of my Munich Airport International. So tell us a little bit about my and all the success you've had over the past years.
Yeah, thanks for making me look really old. That is a great start. Thank you. But in essence, yes, with age comes experience. Thank you very much for pointing that out. And we do have quite some experience as far as international projects is concerned. Basically, when Munich Airport, which was situated in the middle of the town of Munich, moved out to the periphery in order to have a better chance of expanding and expansion over 30 years ago. This move was done in one night, famously in one night.
In 16 hours, I've read.
Yes, exactly. So, all the autobahns, the German autobahns concerned were completely blocked, and they were exclusively reserved for that move. And it was done very, very successfully. And from that on, that is really the birthplace of Munich Airport International's business, of Munich Airport's international business, because we realized very soon we got phone calls from other airports saying, can you help us too? We are moving into a new terminal, something is happening. So we realized we have a successful product that we can sell. And we started selling what we then called ORAT, which is operational readiness and transfer. And that product was sold so successfully that eventually we decided we can branch out. We can have other areas of services that are interesting to other airports. And from some of the very successful openings, Bangkok Airport and just hordes of other projects, it was decided to concentrate all the international business in a company, in a wholly owned subsidiary, Munich Airport International, as a German limited company, of which I'm lucky enough to be the co-managing director. It's my colleague Lorenzo, and we are now doing much more than just services and consulting. We are actually operating airports, a small handful globally, and we're actively pursuing other possibilities of operating terminals and whole airports. So
Right.
that's the birthplace.
So you travel the world to expand Munich's airport presence, and also, as you mentioned, export this made in Bavaria know-how that you as a country, and I think Germans and Germany has succeeded very well exporting and have a very good brand image globally. So you're taking this know-how and your expertise throughout the entire airport life cycle. And today's topic, which we will focus on, is airport branding and how the sense of place shapes successful airports. You touched upon already what has caused this evolution and how it all started. But if we look now at the big picture and what has happened in the past, what is still happening in many places around the world, many airports, and where the future is heading. So the times where airports were just faceless and they only served and catered the basic human needs and the toilets and the restaurants and the passengers went on and off are now gone. So now what are the trends in the society, the trends in technology, the trends in architecture? the way that people travel and want to be treated. What has led to these changes and the transformation of airports and being airports being destinations themselves?
Well, I think the first trend that one has to acknowledge, and this is really not a recent trend, but it's been a couple of years, decades really, is that 25, 30, 40 years ago, air travel was a very exclusive, elite form of transportation. That, of course, has changed, not just with the advent of the low-cost carriers, but society in general have become much more mobile. People want to travel. They want to visit their grandmother on the weekend. They want to have a quick dash to the Greek islands. If you look at the Eurocentric point of view, or from the US, just dash down to the Caribbean over a weekend. And also, if you look at Southeast Asia, some of the emerging societies have become much more mobile. So that is a general trend that airports and airlines have to answer to. And then with the advent of this global trend of everybody being able to travel, there's literally hundreds of millions of individual travels per year now, focused generally in Europe, in North America, and in Southeast Asia. Africa, of course, still has some catching up to do. South America is catching up very, very fast. So this kind of air travel has to be acknowledged. And then there's a natural competition now between first the airlines that were screaming, I have the best price, I have the best product, I have the nicest seat, I have the best food, I have the best connectivity. And that kind of competitiveness has sort of moved over to the airports as well. Why fly from Munich when you can fly from Salzburg? Why fly from Frankfurt when you can fly from Munich? Why fly from Paris when you can fly from Amsterdam? Because most of these airports have become multimodal transport hubs. So the connectivity is not just through the air, but also through rail, of course, highways. So it's become very easy for customers to move from one, what we call catchment area, to another catchment area. If you look at Paris, Amsterdam, if you look at Frankfurt, Paris, if you look at even Paris, London, there's very good connectivity. So a passenger can actually choose much easier than a couple of years ago of where to go. That, of course, created a task for the airports to become attractive, to become unique, to become something else that the other airport is not. And if you look at some of the airports that have evolved very much over years, there's a lot of clutter. I'm not going to name a particular airport in Germany, but it's sort of natural if you keep on expanding every 5 years.
Does it start with F, the letter F?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. But, typically such an airport would have the problem of having multiple cycles of expansion. Whereas in Munich, we're very lucky to have been able to start fresh 30 years ago, and then just had 2 expansions. And we always try to keep it very precise and very clean for easier passenger orientation. And also, I think we were lucky enough to have been able to have a clean platform, a very simple platform where air
And this is
travel.
very sustainable also, right? This
Yes.
is what makes an airport a classic and timeless. You mentioned before about the competitiveness, and you mentioned what makes airports unique. So the Munich Airport, which is one of my favorite airports, and Munich is the first city I've ever visited as a teenager, as an exchange student. So it's Germany's is its second largest airport and an award-winning airport. What makes it unique and successful before we see how the knowledge transfer is then exported to other global and other international airports?
We feel, and having been Europe's first and for years only 5-star airport, we feel that the orientation is very easy. You can see some of the
Here
uniqueness that we.
I'm showing some pictures of
Yeah,
the Munich Airport, right?
yeah. Can you go back one picture, please, if at all possible? This is really maybe the next one. This large roof by architect Helmut Jahn which has been in place for a long time now, is really one of the absolutely unique spaces, I'm going to say, in the world,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a landside roofed giant space that is sort of a boilerplate for some of the things we're trying to do at Munich Airport, which is we're trying to provide a platform where a lot of events, a lot of businesses, small, big, can happen that enhance the airport's attractiveness. And this is the picture of the famous Christkindlmarkt over Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
where we have 70,000 visitors for the Christmas weekends leading up to Christmas. And on average, we have 35,000 visitors each weekend that have nothing to do with the airport.
That
So
they're
this
not
is
traveling, they're not going anywhere or coming from
no,
anywhere.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You're
Mm-hmm.
exactly right. And that's the
Mm.
kind of destination we would like to become, that we're
Right.
not only attractive to our passengers and to our employees. Let's not forget that there's a small city as far as
Mm.
employees is
Mm-hmm.
concerned. The policemen, the airlines, and of course
Lots of
our
target
own.
groups and stakeholders.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that's pretty unique, and also which a lot of passengers don't really realize is we have a different typology in the sense that we don't have a curbside in front of the terminal. We have it on the north and on the south side, dividing it from for individual cars and for public transport. That means there's an easy way through for passengers onto that famous Munich Airport Center, and then of course we brew our own beer.
Mm-hmm.
We have a beer garden, and that's a destination in itself. I've been there many times because it's very relaxing, and you can have meetings, you can be outside, and you don't really feel the stress of air travel. And you
Mm-hmm.
can conduct meetings, as I said, and it's really very Bavarian.
Mm.
And that's also something we're trying to do, that we include, and you see the skis there, just in the last picture. We're not trying to be, the Neuschwanstein Disneyland copy. We're trying to provide a very crisp, clean architecture
Mm-hmm.
where then the particular event can much easily play its role and its importance, rather than having a very, very, very distinct architecture that then tries to be in the foreground. We feel if you have nice and clean framework, the businesses can play the important role they're supposed to play. So that's, I think, at the core of being a destination.
Mm. You mentioned in the beginning when I asked you about Munich Airport International, what has led to where you are today. You spoke about being the leading or service provider to being nowadays a global airport operator. I would like to ask you in particular now in is it 2017? Your know-how and expertise has grown, and you have recently opened in 2019 the Newark's Liberty International Airport Terminal 1. Can you tell us a little bit about this
No,
exciting project?
absolutely.
It's a big investment.
Yeah, well, for us, it's clearly the biggest achievement so far.
Mm-hmm.
We've been lucky enough to have been awarded a concession to operate Terminal A, the old Terminal A, and then as of this year, we're lucky enough to operate the new Terminal A with huge investment by the Port Authority. And
Mm-hmm.
we were granted a concession to operate that terminal for 15 years from now on,
Right.
after 3 years of operating the old terminal. And really, the new terminal is a fantastic investment by the Port Authority. And I cannot thank enough the collaboration of our dear colleagues within the Port Authority, which, of course, is one of the largest airport authorities in the world,
Mm-hmm.
running a whole bunch of airports, not just Newark, but also JFK. Everybody knows JFK and
Mm-hmm.
some other airports. The collaboration with the Port Authority resulted in a fantastic passenger experience, and we
Mm-hmm.
really
Here we see
helped it.
some pictures
Yeah, the
from the
artwork
New
is
York.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thanks for showing that. The artwork is really absolutely unique because we feel that really for the first time you don't have the classic turret in the plaza where you just as an afterthought you integrate, and maybe you can rest on that picture that you're just showing. The classic turret in the plaza, and if you go one more time. That one, let me dwell on that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The classic turd in the plaza is where you just have an artist come in after everything's done. Here, we really tried to incorporate the art in multiple ways. You showed some murals before, and here what you can see is what we call the forest of firsts, and as part of the journey of surprises. And these screens are live screens where you can curate the content on. This is really, we think is the way forward, where you don't have a boring screen where
Who can
advertising.
curate the content displayed on those vertical screens?
At the moment, this content is being curated by us and the Port Authority, and we want to move forward because at the moment it is focused on art and entertainment. We're showing in these screens certain aspects of New Jersey, because this airport wants to be New Jersey and wants to incorporate New Jersey. Also to be very distinct, like we're trying to be in Munich Airport. And I think it's been a great success to clearly show in every aspect, this is a New Jersey airport. So here at the moment, what you see on the screens is certain questions on New Jersey, and even people from New Jersey are surprised on some of the quizzes and the answers. New Jersey really has a lot of firsts as well. The first airport, the first paved runway, the first basketball game, and the first light bulb. Of course, some of those things are known throughout. And we feel really that's the way forward. And I think you have some more pictures of additional screens where we feel, this one's, there you can see the pop quiz. And the A3 gate says boarding now. So you're starting to see here the mixture of information on the screen, where we're trying to be a little bit like a radio show, where you have 5 minutes of news, 5 minutes of music, 5 minutes of some kind of a special feature, 2 minutes of advertising, and then music again. So these screens will allow that kind of curating. Pretty soon, when you go into Alaska, the flight to Alaska, you'll have polar bears. So you have this automatic connection to your flight and showing icebergs and glaciers and so forth. So
when you're cooperating with your clients and all the stakeholders involved, what elements of the design you take into account? Not only the visual, do you look into the human senses and how the place should smell and what sounds should be audible, and how is this overall from the passenger's point of view and the passenger's experience and all the guest experience? What elements do you incorporate in those decisions?
We try to incorporate really every aspect you mentioned. Sound is some of the more subjective and subconscious issues are a bigger driver, and people start to realize how big a driver they really are. Sound is really, really important.
Sonic branding.
Yes, exactly. So you have to have certain areas which are naturally loud. For instance, the security checkpoint. So you have to have extra acoustic dampening, which can be very cheap. So you don't have this enormous stress of additional noise level. People yell at you anyway, move along, take off your belt. So you don't need the additional clutter of things. So, that's a very easy way. We've tried in Newark, but eventually wasn't incorporated. But we'll most certainly do that in the next terminal. Include fragrance. The smell you're saying, I'm trying to use fragrance here. It's been very successfully introduced by airlines. You can actually buy the smell of not Lufthansa, but Singapore Airlines, for instance. And a lot of the car makers have their own fragrance
of leather.
For instance, leather tone and some others. And we've very successfully played around with, for instance, lavender.
Relaxing.
Very relaxing. Everybody likes lavender. There's not a person in the world, at least in Europe, that doesn't like lavender. And famously, there's a city in France, in Grasse, where you even have on the streets, they spray all kinds of fragrances to make that summer feeling, to get that relaxing area, and it's very subtle. So as you were saying, we're not trying to work only with light, with surfaces, and carpet versus terrazzo, and make distinct differences. Wood flooring for some areas and some of the concessions versus hard surfaces. We're also trying to work with sound dampening. We're trying to work with fragrance eventually. Of course, not everybody will like every fragrance, but that's just something you have to work with.
It could be even the smell of fresh coffee, right? It
Absolutely.
could be not artificial chemical fragrances, but it could be
No,
very natural fragrances that they are available in an airport. So how to
absolutely. No, I mean, we of course have in Newark, for instance, we have two different brands of coffee. And they're encouraged to have open containers. I'm not kidding. In
Mhm.
order to have that coffee smell throughout the morning, obviously, because that's the peak coffee time. And then we have a local brand of a barbecue place. And then, of course, during lunchtime and during dinner time, it's national to smell a hamburger, and it's great.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
feel like, hey, I want one. Do we still have time? Yeah, let's go.
Because the way you're working, I think it's so complex, and it is so many stakeholders. Have their own needs and wishes and input. How do you go about it, and what are the criteria? How to make everybody happy? What is the balance to strike between the passenger experience, your client, all the other stakeholders? How do all these people come on board and are trained to sort of for the vision you have prepared and designed for all the pieces to work smoothly together? Because it's a very complex operation.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, it sounds banal, but
Mm.
it's so important to just talk to everybody and have regular communication, be very clear of what you're trying to establish, but also listen. And in the case of Newark, we were very fortunate enough to have distinct and very experienced colleagues from the Port Authority who knew exactly how some of the U.S. Passengers will behave and what were going to be the problems that needed addressing. People with reduced mobility are there's a little higher percentage in the U.S. than we would find in Munich. So
Mm.
people welcome help, and then we also find that the airlines are, of course, the most important partner. And the airlines in the US, they were very happy that we were providing lots and lots of food and beverage.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, saying, well, if you provide it, we don't have to. The famous peanuts from Southwest Airlines that were eliminated. So they got involved in saying, okay, how much coffee, how long the walking distance? And, it was quite surprising to us that they really welcomed any kind of food and beverage for their passengers pre-flight.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the European airlines would say, no, 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 no. We want them to be fed and drink our product in the cabin. But that was very, very different. So it all goes back to clear communication, early communication, continued communication. What we also find most importantly is the authorities, police, border control, TSA, security checks. You all have to work together in order to make a pleasant passenger experience, and also to enhance on-time performance. Because in the end, every passenger, yes, they want a coffee, but they want to get out of there on time.
Mm-hmm. Right. I know, Dr. Weisser, that you're very busy. You're traveling the world. You just arrived, I think, from the States a couple of days ago, right? What other future plans you have? Where are you traveling next? Do you have anything you would like to share at the moment? What exciting projects you're working on?
Well, I mean, there's always a whole bunch of things that we're trying to improve. One thing maybe to connect to what I said earlier as far as the screens is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
we really are in the process of integrating all the different screens that you face as a passenger. Typically you coming into an airport, you see 3, 4, 5 screens, advertising,
A lot of
uh,
noise,
a lot of
visual noise.
visual noise. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So we're really working on integrating everything into one screen, and having a typical screen on a wall can be very big, and then have that curation we were talking about before, where you have art, where you have information, where you have entertainment, where you have wayfinding and signage all integrated. Even emergency services, evacuate in case something goes wrong. So but it's very complex because you have multiple contracts you have to work with, and integrate that screen curation, I think, is something we're working on, and that will be exciting. And then, of course, something that's very difficult in Europe because the data protection is different. But in the US, we're working on, as soon as you step off your Uber, you're welcomed. Glad you're back, Lutz. Are you flying again to Chicago? By the way, last time we noticed you had a beer at Shake Shack, or whatever, any other brand. You want to have another one? There's a sale. This sort of personalized travel, seamless personalized travel, where you're welcome, but you're not bothered. You can click it very easily away, and your passenger experience can be activated if you want to. So that's the sort of digital seamless integration into travel we're working on, both on the screen, on your device, and allow your as an individual an enhanced travel experience. And then we were also working, just as an FYI, we formed a consortium. We're helping Airbus develop what we call vertiports. So the new electrical driven vehicles, vertical takeoff, sort of maybe the next bus public transport in the third dimension. We're preparing our first vertiport in Munich, and we're trying to integrate that into all of our other airports, because we believe that can be
So
the
from
future.
Munich with love to the rest of the world, great innovations, great ideas. Thank you so much, Dr. Weisser, for being here, taking the time to be here at Travel Insights, TravelDailyNews.com. We can talk for many hours. Perhaps we can have another discussion in the near future on an
Anytime.
interesting topic.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much
you.
for having me. Talk soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. This is Travel Insights. I'm Chryssa Skodra. Thank you for tuning in and watching us. And tune in for our next episode every Wednesday at 11 o'clock EET here, live from Finland for the rest of the world. And if you want to share an interesting topic that is you're very passionate about or you're working on, make sure to contact me as well. Here is the email where you can be in touch with me so you could be featured on the show. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye.